see one in the whole summer, you know. So they have these very dramatic cycles, and that has implications for the rate at which the food web is constructed and many interactions. So they did these large-scale experiments where they put up big fences on some of the grids, and then they did experiments in combination. So some of them were predator exclosures, some of them were food addition experiments, but basically they were trying to piece together why these cycles happen and what might be causing them to happen. The current version of the Kalani project is called the Community Ecological Monitoring Program, and it is done at peak productivity in late July and is done in collaboration with Yukon government. So it's an excellent example of how to do a long-term monitoring program in collaboration with a local government. And there is lots more information if you Google Dr. Krebs' website. You will be able to read more on this program. So here's where the research is based. It's the Arctic Institute of North America's Kalani Lake Research Station. So just behind the buildings is Kalani Lake, and then just beyond that, past those mountains, would be where Mount Logan is. So it's a great spot there. So here we have the snowshoe hare cycle. So the red bars are snowshoe hare spring density per hectare, and along the x-axis is time. So you can see every 8 to 10 years the snowshoe hare population has these peaks. You can also see more recently the 2008 peak or so wasn't as tall as the others. There weren't as many hares, but the most recent peak, which is happening either last summer or this summer, yet to be determined, was more of a true peak, so had a higher density of hares. So the interesting thing about this cycle is that the predators also follow the cycle. So you can see with the blue dots, the lynx peak just after the snowshoe hares, and then when the snowshoe hares crash, the lynx also crash. So there's this sort of further effect of the snowshoe hare cycle on many other species. So here to switch angles, what about the shrubs is probably what you're asking, because that's the title of my talk. So a bit of background on circumpolar shrub research. There's been evidence that both the alpine and the Arctic are greening, so that the amount of vegetation is sort of expanding as it wasn't previously. And they found this through NDVI, so Normalized Differential Vegetation Index, through satellite photos, which basically is an index of how green a patch of tundra is, and then you can look at that through time and see if it's greener than it used to be, and also through repeat photography. And shrubs are the key player of this circumpolar greening. So there's more shrubs than they used to be. And in this diagram by Dr. Meyer-Smith, you can see it's greening in 3 ways. So shrub patches are expanding. So the existing patches that were quite isolated and small are now kind of expanding into one shrub mat. Or shrubs are growing taller, so the canopy height of shrubs is growing upwards. Or shrubs are expanding in both elevation up mountains, so where shrubline used to be is higher now, and also latitudinally, so from south to north, shrubs are creeping up. And this leads to great implications for habitat, disturbance regimes, and also climate feedback. Okay, so I'm going to see if I can, so hopefully you can see my arrow here, but I'll try and focus on what I'm concerned with in this diagram, because I know it's a little bit busy. So here in the center we have an increased density and cover of shrubs, and the main thing I want you to see right here is that shrubs capture snow and increase localized snow depth. So we have localized snow depth here, and then the ground is more insulated throughout the winter time. So the amount that the ground would freeze isn't as much. And this can increase soil temperatures, which thereby increases nutrient availability, and these shrubs are sort of self-facilitating their expansion. And the other piece I want you to notice is the animals over here, and that animals are herbivores of shrubs, so a potential control of shrubs. These are the two main things that I'm focusing on, but as you can see, it's a very complicated pattern, but shrubs also facilitate themselves through increased decomposition rates, and they contribute to feedbacks with regards to carbon storage and atmospheric carbon dioxide. So it relates to global climate change. So my question basically is if these factors, such as increased temperatures, are causing alpine and Arctic shrubs to expand, then what about boreal shrubs? They're oftentimes the same species and similar morphology, so these factors influencing circumpolar shrubs could also be influencing shrubs in the boreal. And so I chatted with Dr. Krebs at the beginning of my project, and he has observed since he started in the 70s in Kluane that the shrubs are taller and perhaps denser. So I did some repeat photography, as you can see here. The photo on the left from Yukon Archives from the Ropp family was taken in the 1940s, and then the photo on the right we took last summer. And there's some more shrubs in the tundra area, and then also in the background the shrubs are denser. So in the alpine directly above the boreal sites I was on, shrubs are expanding. So here we are in the boreal food web. And you can see down here are my two focal species, bog birch and gray willow. I'm also studying soapberry, but they're kind of different in both structure and location and size and things. So bog birch and gray willow, and bog birch is very important because it is the main winter food of snowshoe hares, and I'll explain a bit more about that. So the three factors are herbivory, nutrients, and climate. So herbivory, yeah, snowshoe hares really like that birch, and you can tell that they've browsed it, as you can see here. So if an ungulate were to browse a shrub, it grabs and pulls away at it in a way that shows sort of tearing, whereas snowshoe hares are basically little clippers, and they can leave these sharp angled edges. So you can see here we have some past herbivory on the left, and some more recent herbivory in the middle. So as you walk around the boreal forest, you can see that these birch shrubs are clipped.